Chrono Glitch, Timelines Entwined. Chapter 4, Timelines Fractured. In Leah's original timeline, the situation was becoming increasingly dire for Calvin. Weeks had passed since Leah's abrupt disappearance, prompting the authorities to start asking increasingly uncomfortable questions. Calvin managed to deflect their inquiries with a series of plausible yet fabricated excuses for Leah's prolonged absence. However, as time wore on, his excuses grew thinner and his options ran out. Since Leah's sudden disappearance, Calvin had been a mess of overwhelming worry and unyielding determination. Haunted by Leah's absence and driven by an urgent need to locate her, Calvin decided to take a bold, risky step. Although he lacked Leah's in-depth grasp of the intricate and complex physics governing the time travel device, his tenure as her dedicated assistant had equipped him with sufficient foundational knowledge to operate it at a basic level. Calvin rationalized that he could use the device to traverse the timelines to wherever Leah had inadvertently traveled. His ambitious plan was straightforward. Find Leah, assist in rectifying whatever anomaly had occurred, and ensure their safe return together. While simple in theory, it was fraught with complications. Determined yet deeply apprehensive, Calvin activated the time travel device. He took a deep, steadying breath as a surge of pulsating blue light enveloped him, and with a muted pop, he vanished from the present timeline. Unlike Leah's carefully calculated and precise temporal jumps, Calvin's approach was hasty and far less controlled. His rudimentary handling of the complex device caused unintended disruptions. Each of his jumps through the fabric of time and space induced small tears in reality, sending disruptive ripples across multiple intertwined timelines. This crude method of displacement was not only a testament to his desperation, but also a gamble with potentially far-reaching consequences. Calvin's journey through the annals of time was chaotic, marked by erratic leaps into bewildering realities. Each shift unveiled landscapes and histories so surreal and divergent that they defied comprehension. These glimpses into alternate realities and potential futures were both fascinating and disorienting, but his primary mission to find Leah remained unfulfilled. No matter where he landed, Leah was consistently absent, her presence eluding him at every turn. Driven by a growing urgency, Calvin's use of the time travel device became increasingly reckless. He began to completely disregard the subtle warnings it emitted. Strange vibrations, irregular power fluctuations, and a disturbing hum that grew more persistent with each use. Unbeknownst to him, each jump not only strained the mechanisms of the device, but also inflicted deeper wounds on the fabric of the multiverse. His actions were not merely disruptive, they were generating severe anomalies and paradoxes, tearing at the threads that held various realities in balance. Meanwhile, Leah was deep in rigorous training with the Chrononauts, a specialized group dedicated to navigating and safeguarding timelines. During this period, they started to detect alarming disturbances rippling across multiple timelines. Initially dismissed as glitches, these disturbances grew in intensity and frequency, escalating into severe temporal distortions never before witnessed. One particularly violent distortion occurred while Leah was engaged in a navigation exercise. The disturbance ensnared her, dragging her helplessly through a whirlwind of shifting realities. She was tossed from one timeline to another, each more volatile than the last, until she was abruptly cast out into what should have been familiar territory. Yet, the Stanford she encountered was a shadow of its former self, reduced to ruins by unknown forces. As Leah wandered through the desolate remnants of her home city, she felt deep dread. The devastation was overwhelming, and the air was thick with an ominous silence that spoke of a profound catastrophe. Realizing these widespread disturbances could be linked to the misuse of temporal technology, potentially her experiments, or Calvin's frantic searches, filled her with a deep, unsettling guilt. Leah understood the stakes were higher than she had ever imagined. She needed to uncover the source of these disruptions and restore order to the timelines, not just to save her world, but to prevent the collapse of reality itself. Searching for clues among the remnants of her city, she found a partially destroyed newspaper that spoke of inexplicable anomalies and the world's struggle to deal with them. The anomalies were escalating, causing chaos, and threatening to unravel the fabric of society itself. Leah felt a wave of guilt. These anomalies bore a striking resemblance to the after effects of temporal displacement. She couldn't shake off the dread that these were somehow linked to her initial experiment with the device. However, the sheer magnitude and frequency of these anomalies hinted at something far more reckless. Studying the timeline distortions and the anomalies, a horrifying realization suddenly dawned upon Leah. There was another time traveler, a rogue element, relentlessly creating fractures in the timelines, causing the world around her to crumble. She had a hunch who it might be. The thought of Calvin flinging himself recklessly through time out of sheer desperation filled her with an overwhelming and consuming mix of worry and frustration. Leah knew she had to stop Calvin and carefully fix the fractures he was causing. But first, she urgently needed to find him. With the newspaper's grim revelations in hand, Leah's worry turned to immediate and growing urgency. She needed the Chrononauts' vast and powerful resources to find Calvin and mend the fractured timelines before it was too late. What she didn't fully realize was that the task at hand was going to be even more overwhelmingly challenging than anything she had faced before. The timelines were deeply entwined in an intricate and fragile dance of cause and effect, and she was about to step directly into the eye of the storm.